Why is it cheaper to build an in-house team that works like an internal agency? Larger businesses can't afford an agency as such. This relates to the middle part of the sandwich, to its filling. A single tool can cost more than what they actually allocate for marketing. Regarding the agency business in marketing, one of the criteria for choosing an agency is the turnover that a business can allocate to marketing. As a rule, the agency business belongs to the middle part of the sandwich, to its filling. Because roughly speaking, there are three levels at which marketing tasks are solved. At the level of small and micro businesses, at the level of medium-sized businesses, and at the level of large businesses. So the criterion for readiness to engage an agency, is the business turnover. As a rule, from 6 to 10% of the turnover, specifically the turnover, not the gross profit, is allocated to marketing. The larger the business, the smaller this percentage. In small businesses, it's usually 10%, and the closer you get to large businesses, it can be as low as 6%. But as a rule, it's 6 to 10%. The point of the agency business is that a client pays a certain amount of money to get the expertise of a team, which would cost them much more if they hired those people in-house. That's why a small micro business as a rule cannot afford an agency as such. They either selectively choose certain pieces of information, areas of marketing, and uses freelancers or small agencies, for example. But with the agency approach, they basically can't cover most issues because they simply don't have enough turnover. Well, for example, relatively speaking, a single marketing tool might cost more than what they actually allocate for marketing overall. That's why small businesses solve their issues by looking for freelancers. And in this way, they grow. When a business grows to the level of a medium-sized company, for example, or a small to medium business, typically such businesses turn to agencies. And the agency really does fulfill the task of sharing the expertise of their team for less money than it would cost the business to hire that expertise themselves. Because as a rule, well, let's take an example. For instance, we have search engine optimization, SEO. A team works on it. First, there's a project manager, a project communicator, an SEO team lead, a link builder, a copywriter, and also a technical specialist, and maybe someone else as well. So hiring this whole team would be very expensive for a medium-sized business, but their turnover is enough to hire an agency. That's what concerns the mid-level segment. A high-level business, meaning a significantly large and established business enterprise, usually creates an internal agency within the company itself. This is primarily because if a substantial business organization hires an external agency, it will be very expensive for them. At a high level for a large business, it's actually cheaper to create an in-house team that works as an internal agency. But large businesses can also turn to professional agencies, to marketing agencies, in order to gain specific expertise in certain tools. And in such cases, there is also a certain logic to it, but unlike medium-sized businesses, which can fully cover their needs with an agency approach, their tasks, large businesses as a rule work with agencies in a specific way. That is, they provide the opportunity. This agency approach makes it possible to share expertise, because thanks to the diversity of their work, an agency can share something, but most of the work is usually done by the in-house team. If you have a small or medium-sized business, you need a digital marketing agency or a performance marketing agency. Contact us, a web agency, you're welcome.